What kind of child are you in God's eyes? Are you a good child, or are you a bad child? Are you a child that runs to God, or are you a child that runs away from God? That's what we're going to talk about this week on the Fourth Magi. In this week's gospel, Jesus is criticized by the religious leaders, the Pharisees and the scribes. He's criticized because he's breaking bread, he's having a meal, he's hanging out with prostitutes and tax collectors and overall just plain old sinners. And he's told, why do you eat with sinners? And so then Jesus tells this parable. Now it's very important for you and I to realize that Jesus is the one telling this story, because that's the real impact of the story, that Jesus is telling it. He tells a story about these two sons, the older son, the younger son, and the younger son goes to his father and says, "Dad, give me my inheritance." Now, the man's not even dead yet, and the son's asking for his inheritance. So right off the bat, you just don't do that. You get your inheritance when your loved one passes away. You don't ask for it up front. You don't take a loan out on your parents' inheritance. It just doesn't happen that way. So this great insult is given to the father, but the father, who loves his two sons like any parent should, splits his wealth with his two sons. And the one son who wanted the inheritance, he parties hard. He squanders it. That's what the word prodigal means. The prodigal son means the wasteful, overindulgent son. That's what the word prodigal means. So he's wasteful of what the father has given him. And he's decided to take his money and go off to another country and party some more. But like any wasteful prodigal son or prodigal daughter, that money's going to run out one day because they don't know how to manage it. The father knows this. The father knows his children. He knows that this one son is wise and prudent and saves his money and does what should be done with it. And the other son just wants to party hard and wastes all that he's given. Doesn't know how to control himself. So he goes off into this country and he squanders it all. Squanders it all on a life of dissolute living. And he's now in a foreign country. He's run out of his money. He now has to go work for a pig farmer. Now, you and I, we like pork. As John Travolta said in Pulp Fiction, pork is good. Pork chops is good. Bacon is good. So the idea of working for a pig farmer may be pretty foreign to you and I. But for that culture, working for pigs and feeding them and taking care of them was verboten. You just didn't do that because pork were unclean. Pigs are unclean. So this Jewish boy has to go and take care of unclean animals. That's where his living has brought him. His choices, his decisions, his lack of control has brought him to taking care of pigs. And it is in that he's given this moment of clarity. Wow. Here I am, I'm feeding these pigs. I can't even eat the food the pigs are eating. And look, my father's house, they had food, they had feasts all the time, and they lived better than I'm living right now. So, what should I do? And he comes up with a plan. You ever do that? You ever get in trouble with your parent? And you gotta smooth things over, and so you come up with a plan, come up with a speech, and he says, I'm gonna tell my father this, that, and the other thing, and then he'll take me back. I don't want him to be a son anymore, I'll just be a servant. I'll do dishes and stuff. So he heads back home. Now, in the gospel, and we're going to focus just on the prodigal son, we're not even going to talk about the older son, because most of us need to hear about the prodigal son. So the prodigal son, the younger son, is heading back home, and it says in the gospel, while he was a long way off, the father spots him. Now, what does that mean? That means that the father had been going out to the road every day, looking for his son. Because he knew, man, he can't handle himself. One day he's going to have to come home because it's going to run out. He knows that. And every day he went onto that road looking for him. And when he came back, he had his speech all prepared. The father sees him. The father runs to him. The father doesn't stand there with his arms crossed over his chest saying, where the heck have you been? No, the father runs to him and embraces him. And the son, who's been probably planning a speech over and over again, he's ready to say, Father, Father. He doesn't even hear him. Put a ring on his finger, sandals on his feet, and give him a robe. He's one of the family again. Because he's seen the error of his ways and he wants to come home. And that's the beautiful part of this story. That God is embracing this son who has squandered everything. Later on in the gospel, the older son says that he was bringing prostitutes into the home. Think about that for a second. If you're a parent listening to this, how would you feel if your son or daughter was bringing prostitutes into your home? How would that fly? But Jesus is telling this story, remember. And so he really pushed the marks. He pushed the limits of morality, if you will. But the father doesn't care so much that what he did. He's just happy that he came home. You and I, we make a lot of bad choices. We make a lot of bad decisions. Why? Because we're human. Sometimes we let our passions get the best of us. And we make bad choices, bad decisions, like I said. But Lent is a time when we can repent. We change our minds. We turn around and we should head home. We head home spiritually to God our Father, who isn't standing out there with his arms crossed overhead saying, man, you're just a screw up. No, our Father, because Jesus told us so, our Father is arms wide open, ready to embrace us, to say, you know what, I know you made this. He knows we made bad decisions. He knows what we've done. He just wants to welcome us home and love us. But it's up to us to make the decision to turn back, to change our minds, to change our behaviors, our choices, our decisions, and to allow him to embrace us in this season of Lent as we remember what Jesus has done for us, which is the ultimate symbol of God's love for us, because he does love us. We just need to accept it and to embrace it back. So I hope you have a happy fourth week of Lent, Laetare Sunday, Rejoicing Sunday. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a great week. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.